Jackson Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Kevin Jackson here. A little NFL talk. We don't have all the numbers, but we do have the Thursday night football numbers. I asked you guys to get me. Did you get the Sunday night numbers? They don't have them yet? Okay. Anyway, so the NFL is in triage. I'm going to give you these numbers the same way I would give you the Chicago death toll after each week. We've replaced that with the NFL for the time being. Why? I don't know. We'll talk about the Chicago death toll. We know this is still happening. Rahm Emanuel hasn't addressed it. It isn't like they've put together some. Look, if all the left did was say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to clean up Chicago. We don't want them to be the city that's constantly being talked about on the Kevin Jackson Radio Show or anywhere else. We're going to deal with this. They could make a dent. Think about the power that Rahm Emanuel has exuded over this community, the Chicago community, probably more powerful than Rauner, the governor of Illinois, and he's done nothing. Week in and week out, we can talk about this issue. I know for a fact dozens of people will be shot. I didn't even have the numbers. I don't even have the numbers this weekend. I know dozens got shot and a handful got killed. That I know in Chicago. And what do you need to finally go, you know what? We need to do something here. The left always proclaim, if we could just save one. Save one what? If we could just save one. I could point to you at the war and say if we could just save one with this particular piece of legislation. Look at immigration. How many Americans are killed by illegals? And they still fight for illegals, but they've never used their age-old excuse. If we could just save one American, wouldn't it be worth us stopping this illegal horde from coming in? They don't use it, do they? They don't care about that. Anyway, talking football, and I want to go into a story about this, so hang in there with me. I'm not just going to talk about the stats, but I want to give you the stats. Playing at home last night, the 2012 Super Bowl champions shut out the Miami Dolphins 40-0 to break a 2-game losing streak. While quarterback Joe Flacco was knocked out with a concussion, the Ravens not only scored their second shutout of the season, but their biggest shutout ever, with all of the Ravens and Dolphins standing during the national anthem, except a trio from the latter, meaning 3 of the Dolphins, who stayed in the locker room in protest. That shutout was a hard hit for the House of Moons and the NFL Network. A virtual done deal early on, the primetime game brought in an 8.4 over 14 in metered market results. So an 8.4 out of 14. Last night's Week 8 matchup, if you can really call it that, get this, here are the numbers, fell 15% from the early numbers of last week's previous season low, matching Thursday Night Football. In a season that has seen the NFL and broadcasters repeatedly hobbled by ratings declines, that 8:30 to 11:30 p.m. ET Oakland Raiders truly dramatic 31-30 win over Kansas City eventually ended up, get this, with a 4.5 of 17 rating. That was a dramatic game. There was won in the last seconds. And it got a 4.5 out of 17. The game that I'm talking about got an 8.4 out of 14. So you can see the numbers there. One got less than 25%. The other got over 50%. And the game that got less than 25% was a barn burner. You getting it? You putting it in perspective? These guys are killing themselves. And this next story about an owner who made a comment that has completely been taken out of context goes to prove exactly what I'm talking about. Because the left wants you to believe that racism has reared its ugly head. They took offense to an owner who said of his players and the players in the NFL, the inmates are running the asylum. I want to read from AOL. Houston Texans owner Bob McNair used a poor choice of words at a recent NFL owners meeting that now has him facing criticism. According to ESPN's Don Vanetta Jr. and Seth Wickersham, NFL players recently met to discuss how to move on from the national anthem protest. I don't know why they keep meeting for this. I hope they're meeting in Hawaii or someplace nice, because these meetings are crazy. Anyway, it says, after Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones gave a passionate speak about the need to make players stand for the national anthem, McNair said, "We can't have the inmates running the prison." And according to ESPN, the statement stunned some of the people in the room. Now, I'm going to tell you something. You'd have to be a fool to misinterpret what he was saying. Or you could be a racist. The saying, "the inmates are running the asylum," means chaos. It's like having the animals run the zoo. The saying is used in government, military, education, sports, entertainment, business, everywhere. Inmates running the prison, inmates running the asylum. It's meant to say whoever shouldn't be in charge, that have people in charge of them, have taken over, and they are now running the prison, the asylum, whatever you choose to cite. The earliest citations of this came from Hollywood. Filmtown has been described as a place where the inmates run the asylum, and it was cited in print in 1960. "We've let the inmates run the asylum, and they've practically destroyed it." They're talking about Hollywood star system. Do you agree with that? Think about what I just said. This was in the 1960s. They were talking about the stars were ruining Hollywood because they were taking over, and the people in charge had no ability to reel them in. The only people that can reel any of these fools in are you, the public. So I keep coming back. I am Maximus. I'm the general who became a slave, who's more powerful than the emperor. Why? Because I control the crowd. The throng, they called it. Another reference comes from 1960. It had to do with Red Skelton, who purchased Charlie Chaplin's studio. It was described as a place where the inmates run the asylum. And one of the inmates, Red Skelton, will soon be running his own little asylum. The first comedian since Charlie Chaplin to boast his own movie factory. So this saying's been used all over the place. For goodness sakes, Congress is a group of baboons, and our Congress is mostly white. What do you say to that? If McNair had used this term in any other venue than the NFL, which employs mostly blacks, he'd be off the hook. If he used it in the National Hockey League, for example, would he be catching any flack? The answer is no. You know it, I know it. And it goes to show you, as I've said before, how weak are black people to where immediately we had owners going, "Oh, we're stunned. These are billionaires." They're stunned. Stunned at what? That McNair would dare question why the NFL and the owners allow spoiled black babies to ruin their businesses? The idea that these idiot, politically correct billionaires would not see the racism in their stunnedness is beyond me. Any owner who is stunned by McNair saying this is the true racist. McNair didn't do anything wrong. He used a saying to explain that employees don't decide what corporations do. The owner does. He wasn't calling his employees inmates, as the stunned owners suggested. So why were some of the owners so sensitive to the comment? Are you with me? You figured it out? They believe they employ inmates. See, I've explained this a while back. Thugs come in all walks of life. I'm rarely surprised when conservatives are indignant about a wrong, like Ray Rice hitting his wife. Rightfully, and rightfully being indignant. It's what they do afterwards that bothers me. See, conservatives are perfect. That's what the left believes. And we're quick to accommodate their thinking. That's why we never win. Adrian Peterson spanked his kid too hard. Rice hit his wife. Lord knows nothing like that's ever happened with conservatives, right? So let's admit it, folks. We're all human. We fall short of the glory of God. And we're fallible. Should you lose your livelihood? Sports figures must be drug-free or lose their jobs, while in the real world, the left legalizes marijuana, and most of you know people who do worse drugs than that and work. It's crazy. You think Michael Vick's the only black dude fighting dogs? Black people may be well represented in prison populations, but prisons have races of all colors, creeds, etc. So to imply that NFL players are inmates is ridiculous. Now, they might be without the NFL. The NFL and the kneelers look for lifelines as the industry goes down the drain, and the impact won't be felt immediately, but if they keep this up, it's coming.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.